How's it going, everybody? I'm so glad you're here after yet another one of my world-famous hiatuses, and today we're going to be talking about The Monkey, directed by Osgood Perkins and starring Theo James. When twin brothers find a mysterious wind-up monkey, a series of outrageous deaths tear their family apart. 25 years later, the monkey begins a new killing spree, forcing the estranged brothers to confront the cursed toy. Now, Osgood Perkins is a filmmaker that I have a very complicated relationship with. I haven't seen all of his films, but the films of his that I have seen, I have very differing opinions on each one of them. There are no two films of his that I feel the same about. For instance, I absolutely despised Gretel and Hansel. Couldn't stand that movie. Barely anything about it I liked. I absolutely adored Longlegs. Very little about that movie that I did not like. I think it's one of the best horror films of the decade so far. And I was a bit cautiously optimistic, I guess you could say, about The Monkey, because this film is definitely more comedically inclined along with its horror aspects compared to something like what Longlegs was. So I was intrigued to see what he would do with it. And I still am very confused on how I feel about Osgood Perkins as a filmmaker, and honestly about how I feel about The Monkey as a film itself. Now let's get the praises out of the way first, the obvious ones anyway. This film looks absolutely gorgeous. It really maintains Osgood Perkins' style. There's lots of really wides with wide-angle lenses. There's lots of close-ups with wide-angle lenses. Osgood Perkins loves his wide-angle lenses, and he really knows how to use them too. They are breathtaking here. The cinematography and the editing in particular in this film are absolutely stellar. A lot of the comedy relies on the editing being super crisp and fast, and it really delivers. There are several laugh-out-loud jokes in this movie that would be dreadfully unfunny had the editing not been on point, and it absolutely was, and those are two things that deserve high praise about this film. Also visually, even though it really maintains Osgood Perkins' style, you can really see a lot of very nice visual influences here. There's lots of anamorphics in this film, which we haven't really seen from him before. It really gives the film a sort of giallo feel, combined with the Final Destination Scream-esque story, and that was a fusion that I found very intriguing and that I got a lot out of. Theo James is exceptional in the movie. He plays two characters. He plays both twin brothers as adults, and he's great in both roles. With that being said, though, his character and every character in the film is very underdeveloped, and we don't really care a lot about them at all. There are things that happen to these characters in the film, and there are reasons for why they do the things they do, but a lot of it is played for laughs when it shouldn't be. There is comedy in this film that works, but also comedy that feels very misplaced and takes away from the development of the characters or just the overall symbolism and themes of it too. The monkey itself, the actual physical doll, kind of serves as a symbol for generational trauma, and it's actually a bit more well utilized and executed than you would think it is, but at that same time, like I said, the comedy detracts from that usage, and also the lack of character development and the strange pacing as well really keeps this from being a home run in the thematics department. It's a really cool idea, but it's not followed through on very well. As I said, the pacing is very strange. The first 30 minutes or so of the movie is reliant on learning about Theo James and his brother as children and their relationship with their mother, but the whole thing is sort of played out like a prologue, so you're wondering when, if ever, if Theo James is going to come in, and it's not until about a third of the way through the movie, and the story hasn't exactly started yet. It's a lot of setup that doesn't really need to be there. There are important things in that prologue, but there's also a lot of fat that could be trimmed. There's also a twist about an hour into the movie that I saw coming a long time before that, but it also motivationally with the characters doesn't make a ton of sense. It just seems like something this film would do. And if it was going to do that, that's fine. It just doesn't justify it very well beyond the surface level, and it should have happened a long time prior to that because the story was really dragging its feet getting to this reveal, and then the last 25 minutes feel very rushed and scatterbrained because of it. The characters are also sort of unnecessarily cruel to each other, especially one of Theo James's characters as kids to his brother. It makes him very unlikable, and he is supposed to be the unlikable one of the two brothers, but it gets to the point where it's not even entertaining to watch anymore. It's just, okay, can we move on? We get it. He's an asshole. I don't see the point in repeating it this much. So there's bits of that in this film too. Like I said, for me, the comedy was very hit or miss, but take that with a grain of salt because if you like this style of comedy, you're gonna love this film, and there's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying that there weren't parts of this film that worked for me in the comedic aspects, because there were. There were many moments in this movie where I did laugh out loud. The last shot in particular I thought was hilarious. Very funny stuff here. It's just not all of it blended together very well for me. I also think I would probably like it more if it wasn't a classic case of literally every single cool kill being spoiled in some of the trailers trailers or TV spots. And I don't watch trailers or TV spots. It's just the marketing and trailers and TV spots for this film have been everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, theater screens. So I've been forced to watch it, and every single kill, except for the one in the opening scene, and then there's one at the climax that was also really cool, was spoiled for me. And those are two of the best kills in the movie, don't get me wrong. But the stuff in the middle of the film, which is almost just as good, I've already seen a million times. So when it started doing the Final Destination suspense thing of like, oh, is this person gonna make it or not? I don't get to feel that because I already knew that because y'all already spoiled it for me. So that's another thing that you should probably take with a grain of salt. If you know absolutely nothing about this movie, you might enjoy the suspense of it a lot more than I did because you won't know. But also, it's still kind of obvious when a scene starts, even when I didn't know if somebody was gonna die, if they were gonna die, if that makes sense. You know, like, it's just the way that they shoot things and cut them together and score it. It's still pretty clear. And that does add to the comedy sometimes, but still, the comedy and the horror don't always jive very well for me here. I still would say that I recommend this for most people, especially if you're a fan of Osgood Perkins and if you're a fan of horror comedies, because I wouldn't really call myself a fan of Osgood Perkins. I'm a fan of Longlegs, you know? It depends on if this style of humor works for you or not. That's really gonna make or break it for you. Parts of it did for me, parts of it didn't. There are a lot of objective things about this film to praise. I just don't think it was really my cup of tea. I'm gonna be giving The Monkey a 5 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of this film down below. It comes out on February 21st. Thank you so much as always for watching. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys whenever I decide to make a video next. Thanks a lot for coming, guys. See you soon.